Right. Thank you so much again for making it for this session. So we'll be having two sessions. The first one being today and the next one tomorrow. I'm just putting on my video so that I can put face to the voice. We'll have two sessions, one today and the other tomorrow. Today is more of an introductory session where I'll be taking you through the basics of data visualization so that you can have a better understanding of how visualization works and why we would pick one visualization over the other. And then tomorrow's session will be more practical. So I will be requiring you to download a few data sets that we will be using tomorrow. At the end of the session, I'll be sending you the link. So please, when I do share the attendance form towards the end of this session, please make sure to fill in the attendance form, because that's what I'll be using to send you the link to the data that we'll be using for tomorrow's session. Also for tomorrow's session, please ensure that you are logged into Flourish, which I'll show you much later after the session. So without much ado, let's get into our session. So my name is Rose Kwamboka. I'm a journalist and a data analyst for Code for Africa, which is Africa's largest civic tech and data journalism initiative. I also coordinate WANA Data, which is East Africa's chapter for female or women in tech. So if you're a lady in the room and you're not a part of WANA Data and you'd like to join, I'll share with you a form where you can fill and join us in WANA Data. You can find me on Twitter at Kwamboka R, on LinkedIn. I will be sharing with you this slide so you can find the links and we can connect on social. All right, right to what we are starting on today. So an introduction to data visualization. So we'll just have a brief intro on what data visualization is, ways in which we can visualize data, and what we take into consideration when we are choosing data visualization. So to start us off, what is data visualization? So it's the process of converting large amounts of data. So it could either be numerical or categorical data into a visualization that is easy to read, and that visualization is able to produce actionable insights, or you can use that visualization to make decisions, be it if it's for your story, if you're a journalist, or if you a manager, you can be able to make decision based on the visual, which is data that has been turned into something that is easily digestible. So if you look at these three visualizations, so the first one is a table, the second one is a pie chart or a donut chart, and the third one is a bar chart. So this is the same data that is presented differently. So if anyone can unmute or put your hand up and tell us which of the three you think is the best way of visualizing this data. So the data is on average annual natural hazard occurrence in Tanzania from 1900 to 2018. Anyone can tell us which of the three ways of visualization is the best for presenting this data?
Okay, hi, I'll go.
Hi.
I'm Nelly.
Yes.
Yes, I think the middle one, I'm more drawn to it. It's the different colors makes it a bit more interesting. Yeah, the first one is just boring. Things are just there. And then the last one, while it is interesting, it's just that it's same color, so it sort of makes it a bit monotonous. So I will not be fastly like attracted to it. You know, it will need like a second third look. Yeah.
All right, perfect. I like that. Anyone of a different opinion? Feel free to unmute and speak.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Joseph.
Yes, Joseph.
For me, I think the first one would go for me because it is easy to pick against the digits. And the second one would require more, because apart from just having the presentation, the pie chart, I mean, I would still have to go to the interpretation down there, equally to the last one. But you see, with the first one, I would straight earthquake 11, wildfires 1, so I can easily pick the data without necessarily more items that I have to interpret. So I think I would go for the first. The tabulation works for me.
All right. Who is of the opinion of the third one?
I am.
Yes. Why?
I say the third one because the first one you just tell which is the more occurring natural disaster, which is the flood, quick and straight to the point. And because it's in order, you can just see which one's the without having to go into detail of looking so much into the graphic.
All right. Thank you. Nicholas, your hand is up.
Yes. This is...
Oh, I can't quite hear you.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Or you're easily able to see the comparison. Okay, I'm saying I'll go for the third one. The reason because I'm able to see the comparison. As in the comparison in terms of the height of the graph is able to show you that how maybe they were comparing according to each other.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. And I like all your points. So those, every visualization, someone is picking a visualization based on different things. And that's exactly how we pick visualization. So one picked a visualization based on the color because color attracted to the colors were attractive to them. And we'll see the importance and how color can actually influence your visualization and how you pick it. Nicholas picked the bar chart because of how it's rendered, that it gives you at first glance, you can actually see the numbers, like the hierarchy of the numbers, which is the most natural hazard occurrence, and which one is the least, just at a glance. And Joseph picked the table because Joseph, you picked your table because you can see at first glance
yes,
the natural hazard and the occurrence, that you, unlike the pie chart, you can just see the occurrence, the hazard, and how frequently it has occurred, compared to the pie chart where you have to keep looking at the color and then look at the legend and look at the color to see what hazard that actually is. That works for this kind of a table because it's a tiny table, but we'll see in other situations when we have loads and loads of data, it will be harder to just use the table. But yes, in some instances, we actually do prefer the table. And we'll look at other tables that are better used, like the heat map, which is a special kind of table that gives more information than just a table would, and we'll see that later. So let's look at the ways on which we visualize data. So we have two ways of visualizing data. We have the static way, which is what we use in our reports in writing or in print. So it's just it would be just a photo. Maybe you did create your visualization on an offline tool, and sometimes on an online tool or a web platform like Flourish and Data Wrapper and Map.io and all the others. But then, because of the format in which we are presenting it, which is on paper usually, then you find that your visualization is static. Therefore, that means that you as the viewer or the person reading that visualization, you're only limited to the content that has been put on your visualization. For instance, if we take this map, for instance, you will only take, you're only limited to what is on the map. If you see the blue area is not labeled, so if you do not know what that country is called, then that's that. You have to go do further research on it or stuff like that. And this is the only information that is available on that map. And that's the only information you're privy to. So another thing is probably the person who made this visualization skipped adding the name of certain countries or further information because they did not want the map to be cluttered. Then because of that limitation then of space, then you find that there's some information that might be vital that is left out. Then we have the opposite, which is an interactive visualization, which are made on web platforms. And now these different web platforms have different capabilities and features when you're making your different kinds of visualization. So you find you're able to get more info on your particular visualization. For instance, if you take this visual, for example, if I may just click on it, I hope it opens. So the visualization itself is just a map. But then if I hover over certain regions, I'm able to get more information on that particular region. For instance, if I hover over, I know this region is called Republic of Peru, and they have a full or partial ban on the use of plastic bags. So as you hover around the different regions, then you get more information on those regions, and so you're able to get more information on that, right? So if we go to also another thing about interactive visualizations is they're responsive, meaning if you do take if you view it on a desktop, the size of your visualization changes to match or to fit your device. If you're using a phone, it will match to fit that. If you're using a tablet, the size of your visualization will change to fit your device, the device in which you viewing from. So the different visualizations, depending on the web platform in which you've used to make your visualization, would have other features like pop-ups, would allow you to add filters and links and such like stuff. And you more often than not, you'll use your cursor to hover over your visualization to find stuff, to zoom in or such like stuff. All right. So the third kind of way in which we visualize data is infographics. And most often than not, people do confuse infographics from data visualization. The main difference between an infographic and a data visualization is that data visualization is a subset of an infographic, meaning data visualization, an infographic is or would be a collection of data visualization and also sometimes includes images. For instance, in this example I'm showing you on right here, we have this gauge, which is a visualization on its own. We have this map and this the map and the donut chart, which are two different kinds of visualizations. And then we have this text. So it has combined 1, 2, 3 different kinds of visualizations and some kind of text to make an infographic. Infographics are usually richer and sometimes can be used in their entirety to convey a certain information without needing to have extra text to further explain your visualization. So please take note of the difference between a data visualization and an infographic. So how do we choose visualizations? So choosing your visualization would depend on what you want to do. If you want to compare stuff, you'll probably use a bar chart or a column chart or a time series, which is the line chart, which if you're having data that changes, that has very small changes over time. If, for example, you want to compare to show relationship, you'll probably use a scatter chart or a bubble chart, and we'll see how we choose each depending on the type of, on what you'd like to show, right? So just a little exercise to see if we really do get a grasp of what kind of visualization to use. So for this data, what kind of visualization would you use what kind of visualization would you use? Let me see in the chat. What kind of visualization would you use to visualize this data? Changes of price in yam and sliced bread. Anyone? Or should I give choices?
I think
Oops.
being
Go ahead.
I think being a comparison, is it a comparison or a growth?
Uh-huh.
I think there are a number of aspects in it. There is
Uh-huh.
growth in prices or, reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a comparison between bread and the tuber and the yam.
Yes.
So if depending on what I am going for, if I am comparing, then I would go for a graph chart, a bar graph.
A bar graph?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone
Then,
of a contrary opinion?
If I was doing something else, then I would go for, either the scatter chart or something. But I think a bar graph, for me to compare the prices or to check the growth, then I would do, there is also the line graph, right?
Yes.
Yes, so a bar graph or a line graph, depending on, if I am looking at the prices, I would go for the line graph to see how they have grown over time.
Yes.
Or if I am comparing how many people will buy yam tuber in comparison to sliced bread, then I would use a bar graph or something.
Okay. You are correct. I don't know why you are doubting yourself, but you are very correct. A line chart would be most appropriate. Let's look at another example. So given this data, can you use a pie chart to visualize it? Why or why not? Anybody? Bar chart, line chart, yes. The people who said bar chart and line chart, you're correct. Would you use a pie chart to visualize this data? Anybody? Okay, do I call on somebody? I haven't had a lady speak in a while. Would you use a pie chart? Yes or no?
We have some feedback in the chat.
Oh, we do? Okay. No, the percentage, yes. That's very correct, Nicholas. Yes. So no, we can't use a pie chart because for us to be able, so a pie chart is a representation of a whole. And in this case, our whole, because we are using percentages, is 100%. So if it does not add up to 100%, then we cannot use it. No, because the percentage figures. I don't know, Emmanuel, if you mean the percentage don't add up to 100. If that's the case, then you're correct. But I have had people in the past say that you cannot use percentages on a pie chart, but you actually can. The only rule being they have to add up to 100. All right. What visualization would we use for this one? Healthcare workers in different countries. Histogram. Why a histogram? Female Freelancers Federation. Group bar graph with color coding, that's correct. Scattered graphics. Okay, Emmanuel, what's scattered graphics?
Okay, if I'm to use that data myself, I will go for scattered graphs or charts because it is showing comparison of two different locations. So I'll go for it. Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else would use something else? I'll give you a hint. We have geographical data here. What else would you use given that insight that we have geographical data here? I should keep up with my charts. Yes, correct, GB. Yes, we can use a map. We can use a map. So yes, correct, Alex. We can use a map to represent this data, and we will do that in our session tomorrow. So let's look at the different types of charts. So to start us off, we have bar and column chart. So a bar chart is rendered horizontally, while a column chart is rendered vertically. And full disclosure, for a very long time, I've always had an issue with differentiating between a bar and a column chart. So I don't know if I'm the only one, but if not, I'll give you a trick on how to differentiate the two. So usually you just relate it to something in real life that would help you recall or remember every time you hear bar and column. So in my case, a bar chart, something that would remind me of a bar chart is a bar of soap or a bar of chocolate, because they're usually rendered horizontally. Even in the supermarket, they're packed horizontally. And a column chart, something that's rendered vertically, would be the columns in a house. Yeah, the pillars in a house are rendered vertically. I don't know if I'm the only one who has a problem with differentiating the two most of the time. So that's how I differentiate. So other than a bar chart and a column chart, we have other variations of the same. So we have a stacked bar chart, which is the one you're seeing on the left, and a grouped bar chart. So the stacked bar chart are just put, the bars are on top of each other, and the entire bar represents the full, the entire data set for that particular column, for that particular bar. In this case, for this example, the bar is all the water sources in Uganda and all the water sources in Acholi. So each bar represents all the time taken for the water source to get to the residents of that particular place, Uganda and Acholi. And then the grouped bar chart in this case, Nicholas. Nicholas says the trick is to use the word bar as in where people take beer. So you can get from a bar, you will fall and work horizontally. Okay, that's a funny way to look at it. So grouped are in groups, as you can see in the chart. And then we have, for the column, we also have a stacked column chart and a stacked and a grouped column chart. Then we have line graphs, which are used to plot continuous data. Like we saw earlier, we were plotting the continuous change in yam prices, and that's what we use to plot anything that changes over time. Right? It's a good use of that. And then the area chart also has a grouped area chart and a stacked area chart, or what you call accumulative area chart. And then we have the pie charts or the donut chart. So the only difference between a pie and a donut chart is that the donut chart has that hole as you would a donut, and the pie chart a pie chart would not have this white space in the middle. It's just same thing, just different depending on your liking. And then that's a pie or donut chart, and we will be making this pie chart in our next session. And then we have the heat map, which is an advanced table, as as I put it earlier. So just instead of having the usual table, we have it color coded to show intensity based on how dark a color is. It may or may not include the figures. It may just include the colors, and then the colors will show you how the intensity or the magnitude of whatever you're trying to convey. In this case, we are showing the sales per employee per weekday. So we can see the darker the color shows the more sales. So in this case, Sophia had more sales on Tuesday and is a very dark color compared to, say, this one who's whiter, Lucas, on Tuesday, who had only 5 sales. And that makes sense. And then this is also where colors come into play. For instance, if you are showing heat or the temperature in a place, you would definitely not use the color blue, because we all know heat is represented with either reds or oranges. So, and if you are representing, say, water, you definitely use blue, because you know water is blue in color. Or every time we think of water, the color blue comes to mind. When it comes to food or agriculture, you definitely go towards greens and oranges, as opposed to, say, a blue color, because there are very limited number of foods that are blue in color. All right. Then we have scatter plots, which show relationships between two variables. So if you look at the scatter plot that we have here on our screen, we show which is a positive correlation because we have values increasing on both the Y and the X-axis. And then if it were a negative correlation, you'd see a different kind of pattern of the dots in which they are arranged. And then in our scatter plots, we should also be very careful not to confuse correlation with causation, which we will talk about later. So causation is where you're assuming something is correlated because of that, but that's not the case. For instance, I'd give an example of if crime increases, if crime rates increase in summer and ice cream increases during the ice cream sales increase during the same period, one would want to believe, or one would want to find a correlation between the two, between increase in crime and increase in ice cream sales, but that is not the case. It means that there is a third aspect that is causing this, that is causing these two things to increase. In our case, that would be temperature. Maybe when it's hotter, people steal more, but of course, we know at the same time when the temperatures are high, people do take ice cream more. So be cognizant of causation when it comes to correlation and when you're building your scatter plots. And then there's bubble charts, which is just a variation of the scatter plot. And then we have other kinds of visualizations that keep popping up every now and then. Now people are more into maps. And then we have slider imagery and very many others that you'll come across, tables, pyramid, the pyramids, which are usually used to show population. You will have found this especially in the Bureau of Statistics documents. You'll find a lot of this. It's used to show demographic dividends, population, and anything that's really used to compare male and female. You'll find it mostly represented in a population pyramid. And then we have parliament charts. During elections, they are used and misused all the time. And then network graphs, which are usually used to show especially virality on social media, how a text or posts went viral, who are the source, and what is their influence on that social space. Right. So how, in as much as we have all these kind of different charts, they do render themselves kind of the same, and this is, and have similar components, and that's what we are going to look at now. So we have the title and the subtitle. So we have our title in this particular chart is Reasons Stated for Women Not Accessing Medical Treatment in Uganda. So your title has to be very short and concise. This is not, you want your audience to get what you're saying just by looking at the title, but you also don't want it to be too long. You don't want your title to be 2 sentences, 3 sentences. You want it to be very short and very short, usually between 6 to 10 words. Let's see how much, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, just there. But giving you information that would be useful. Then we have the subtitle, which now gives more information on the title. And then we have the legend, which is what people used to call the key, which gives you an explanation of the colors or the symbols that you're using. And then we have the data labels, which is the percentages that are put directly into the chart, or whatever information it is that you're putting directly into your chart. Those are your data labels. And then we have, of course, the x-axis, which is the horizontal, and the y-axis, which is the vertical. Yeah, so your x and y axis always have the labels. So be very careful also how you're putting your labels, because sometimes if you switch labels, your graph or your chart kind of looks funny. And then the most important bit here is the source. You need to reference and credit your charts very well, because you want that transparency in where you got your data from. And if you can, because if you're making interactive charts, you need for your audience to be able to follow that link and get where your source of information is from. And then finally, your logo. If your organization, you'd want to have your logo right there, depending on what logo. If it's your organizational logo or your personal logo, you need to have it there. And the reason why you want your chart to have all this information is so that in the event that someone just picks the chart and detaches it from the story that you're writing, then the chart is able to speak for itself without necessarily having to be attached to a particular story. So given that, let's look at some more examples. Looking at these two charts, which one is a better representation of your data? Nicholas, is your hand up, or is that from before?
Hello.
Yes, I see a hand.
Yes,
up.
I was requesting before? if you don't know, you can go back to the last slide.
The last one. Which was the last one?
Yes,
this one.
Screenshot. No, that one. Anatomy of the chart of a chart. Thank you.
All right. Don't worry, I'll be sharing with you the slide, so don't labor. All right.
We are laboring anyway.
All right. This where we are. Which chart would represent your data well? A. Yes, that's correct. Would you want to elaborate? Chamadui? Madegwa?
Yes, so of course, the range of the data set is between 3% to 3 point something %. And that's what you're working on. You're working with a particular range. So if you begin from 0, then it's a bit problematic for people to see the difference in the years of, because you want the difference to come out clearly. So if you work with the range of 0 to 3, then that will definitely not be seen. But if you work with the range of 3 to 3.5, then that will clearly come out over the years.
Yeah, that's true. So you want to choose a scale where your data, it shows you that change clearly. And yeah, it makes no sense to start from 0 because all our data starts from around 3. So when you start your scale from around 3, then it makes more sense to, you can see clearly the change. Thank you, Chamadui, for that. Thank you, GB. You're also correct. A is the correct one. Let's look at this. This is about choosing colors. Would anyone comment on the choice of colors for this chart, for this line chart?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As a man, will represent many men in the. We've always been told that we are colorblind. That is a statistical hypothesis, but from the presentation, between Raleigh and Minneapolis, it is not distinctively unique or different, so it's very confusing in terms of color coding. So I think the choice of color on between the two.
Yes, so that's correct. And yes, for the men and for the colorblind people, as Chamadui has put it in the chat, it's a bit problematic if you're choosing colors that are very close to each other on the color scheme, right? So also be very careful when choosing colors because they might be confusing. You can imagine if these lines, this is even a better case. You can imagine if these lines were crisscrossing at one point, it would be very difficult to follow that line. All right, so color schemes are chosen on a hex code. And other than that, other than just choosing colors that are close to each other, you should also be cognizant when with choosing colors that are compatible to each other. I will share with you a site that can help you choose colors that are compatible with each other when you choosing colors on your scale, because even on Flourish, you have to choose the colors you're using, and those colors need to be as close to each other. They need to be compatible, but not so close to each other that they bring out this problem of being too close to each other on the color scheme. Right. Last one. What is wrong with this chart? Anybody? What's wrong with this chart? It's difficult to read. Chamadui, do you want to elaborate? The shading should be inside, not outside. GB, I see what you mean, but yes, that's correct. But the shading is also being brought by another problem, which Emmanuel has pointed out. Yes, the scale is top bottom. You see where
the scale.
Yeah. Who's speaking? Would you like to elaborate?
Joseph speaking.
Yes, go ahead.
The scale, when it runs from top bottom, following, because if 873 comes here and then you're looking at 721 and you realize if the scale is up bottom, it affects both the X and the Y axis in terms of the presentation. So I think it starts from the scale. That is where there is a problem.
Yes, so it starts from the scale. The scale is problematic. So it gives the illusion that what is this called? That I'm not even able to read it. That gun deaths are increasing, right? If you're just to read it the correct way, it tells you that gun deaths are increasing, right? Going up and then going down and then going up again a bit, which is not the case. So if we flip the chart, the scale to be correct, then it would give a different interpretation of your chart. And but so this chart, I don't know if any of you have come across this, but it was a chart shared by Reuters, and it brought so much attention because it was very misinterpreted by people, but the author or the person who did the visualization was defending themselves, saying that all they wanted to show was that the gun deaths are causing a lot of bloodshed. So the red being the blood. So if you would interpret it to mean that the more blood or the more red there is, then the more gun deaths there is, which was, it was debated, but I don't know, would any of you use the chart as is to represent gun deaths? Why or why not? Why or why not? Anyone?
I would not use it.
Mm-hmm.
You say once there is ambiguity in presentation, your message gets lost in translation, in the sense that now we are not looking at the guns, we are concentrating in what is the problem with the data presentation. So you find that the actual message that you wanted to pass across gets lost somewhere. So
that's true.
I would not use it in that respect.
Yeah, so please stay away from charts that are ambiguous or would cause so much discussion around how you're representing the data than actually on the data that you're representing, right? All right. So finally, on what we are going to do tomorrow, we are going to look at how to do charts on Flourish. And just to give you a background on what Flourish is, so it's a web-based application for purely designing visualizations. And if I may just show you how it looks like on the interface. So this is how it looks like. So this is Flourish. When you sign on to it, this is how it looks like. It has so many types of visualizations. Let's see, get started. So many types of visualizations that you can use. Give it a while to load. So why do we recommend you come here to new visualization? And these are the templates. So we have a category of line, bar, and pie charts that you can choose from, a whole host of maps you can choose from, scatter plots, other kinds of 3D maps, bar chart traces, bubble charts, hierarchy, like the list goes on, right? And the thing we like about Flourish is when you decide to take on a particular chart. Let's say we want to make a population pyramid, and I click on the population pyramid and it brings me the template. It will show me how my data is supposed to look like if I want to replicate such kind of a chart. In this case, this pyramid chart. And how do I know? Where do I go to find out how my data should look like? I come here to data, to this preview, this preview and data icons here. So you go to data, and this is how my data should look like if I'm to make this kind of pyramid chart. So it shows me that the category in blue, which is men, should always be in negative. My numbers should always be negative, not because they are negative not to be interpreted to mean they are negative men, but just so that my men will always be rendered on the left side and my women will be rendered on the right side. Then we, whatever it is we are presenting, in this case, age, should be in this column A, which is in the labels column. If you see the right where my data is presented, my labels column, which is represented in A. Also notice the color here, A is corresponding to this A, right? Then my values, which is my men and women numbers, are corresponding with the columns B and C, right? So if I were to, for instance, move or insert a column to the left, you see it shifts. It tells me, oh, now my columns are column C and D are the ones that are representing my values. So take note of that. Sometimes you run into problems when you're trying to enter your data or upload your data, because the data in your spreadsheet is rendered differently from the way it is rendered here on Flourish, and it gives you trouble once in a while, but don't you worry, it's something that you get a gist of with time. So why do we recommend Flourish? Because you can modify your data, you can share your data on your website as interactive data. And other than that, they added a new feature where you can tell your story. So you can have a series of data of visualizations which you can put together and tell a story. They call it storytelling board, and then it's interactive. And of course, it's what was the other thing we said? The one where you can it changes based on the type of device you're using, as you can see, and you can also preview your data preview how your data would look on different devices using these icons over here. So this is how it would look on a phone, this is how it would look on a tablet, and this is how it would look on a computer, right? Okay. So this is what we are going to look at next week. I want to leave you with, let me share with you the attendance form so that you can fill it, and I can share with you the data that we'll be using for tomorrow's session. If any of you has a special request of a kind of visualization you'd want us to make on tomorrow's session, please let me know in the chat right now. And if you have any other question, please let me know. Rushina, yes, I will be sharing with you the recording after the session. Anyone with a question, a comment? We'll be looking at this tomorrow. If any of you wants us to look at any particular kind of chat, please let me know. Anybody? Maps for visualization. Okay. Okay. Any particular kind of map, Isaiah? A symbol map, a choropath map. Or if any of you has data. Right, correct. Okay. And if any of you have data that you'd want to see how it would be visualized, please also let me know. All right. Any questions? Interactive line and bar charts. Interactive line and bar charts. Okay, I have that in the pipeline. Anyone else? I'm sharing the attendance form, so please fill it so that I'm able to get your emails and send you the recording and the slides from today's session, and also the data that we'll be using for tomorrow's session. Anyone with a question or a comment? All right. Thank you so much for your time and for keeping time. All right.
I was seeing the
yes, go ahead.
Can we make this a bit longer?
How? What do you mean?
Sometimes there is too much to unpack, and so I feel rushed at times.
Okay.
So if we could have, well, you have been asking if there are questions, but if we could have, time to process and then ask those questions.
Okay.
Instead of 1 hour, probably you can add an extra 15.
All right. Okay, I hear you, Njenga.
Yeah.
Oh, the attendance link. Have you, I hope everyone has filled the attendance. Let me share it again. There you go. Otherwise, thank you and see you tomorrow, same time.
Thank you so much, Rose, for this. We appreciate.
Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.